sweet little garbanzo beans. So I'm trying to do more videos just like about spiritually related content, and I have a bunch of different topics that I'm going to be doing videos on coming up. And this is kind of the first in the series. Well, technically the first in the series was my D&D dice for divination video, and it was relatively well liked, so I wanted to make more videos about spiritually related content. So today's topic is kind of it's a big one. It's kind of an abstract concept a little bit, so I apologize if I end up kind of going a little bit all over the map. I'm going to try to stay as on topic as possible. But that's who I am, so I'm going to just be myself. But today's topic is really discussing what, what at its core is your intuition. Yeah, I know. It's like a big one. But, intuition is something that's utilized a lot, especially in the spiritual community. And I think we all have kind of a working definition. I literally thought about looking up the dictionary definition. I'm like, oh my God, you can't do that, Sanessa. Like, it's been so done before. But, intuition can be described from any number of perspectives, from a spiritual perspective, from like a psychological, gut instinct, animal instinct kind of perspective. It's literally used in cognitive typology. But what I'm really trying to talk about with intuition today is what it is spiritually and its role in your soul's journey, in your spiritual path. So what is your intuition? Everybody can have their own separate definition. This is kind of just mine. But intuition to me, most clearly, is the language through which the universe speaks to you, right? And I say the universe, but this can be your, you can call it spirit. This can be your spirit guides, your angels, your ancestors, your deities. It's whatever your, great big something is. Your intuition is the very personalized language through which your great big something speaks to you. And I wanted to cover this topic because I love that we're kind of seeing a new wave of consciousness emerge where we are recognizing our own divinity, where we are recognizing our own spiritual and psychic gifts and talents, and we are utilizing them in everyday life, in our businesses more, in more public arenas. I like to see this. This is excellent. But with that, I think there are kind of, what's the word I want to use, you guys? I don't want to say it's kind of pigeonholed, but I think there are very specific cultural images we all have around what it means to, what it means to have your psychic senses, what it means to be psychic, what it means to be spiritually gifted, right? And we all have, psychic senses the same way we all have physical senses. And, it's just a matter of where you are on your spiritual path, how open you are to your spiritual gifts, how much time you spent developing them, how much time you spent developing them in other lifetimes, if you subscribe to that ideology. Sorry, I'm moving my hair a lot. It's very staticky and it's getting stuck to my face. I'm like Home Alone hardcore. But, it's gonna be different for everybody just based on their personal circumstances. So the reason why I wanted to make this is because I think we kind of have these ideas of, what it means, what it looks like to be clairvoyant, right? We have these ideologies of what it means to be clairsentient, to be empathic. And these aren't wrong, these aren't bad, but I also wanted to make room for the fact that, no two people are going to have the exact same gifts, even if they literally have the exact same psychic and spiritual gifts. They're going to be at different points of development along their journey, and they're also going to manifest differently for each person. And the reason why this is like what we were talking about before, it's kind of easy to lose track in the shuffle, but what is the entire point of language, right? The entire point of language is to communicate. It's to be able to express ideas, desires, wants, needs, communicate information. And the same exact thing applies for your intuition being a language through which your great big something speaks to you. It's the entire point, is that your great big something is trying to give you information. It's trying to communicate with you, to reach out with you, to walk with you, to guide you through life's challenges. And this is why I think it can be so helpful to understand your spiritual gifts and the gifts that you have, but to also make room for your own personal manifestations, right? And the thing that got me thinking about this was I kind of stumbled on this little pocket of the YouTubes where there's it's like a test your intuition kind of a thing, and everybody does theirs differently, and there's nothing wrong with those videos at all. But like I saw like a lot of comments on these where it's like, oh, I didn't get, there'll be like little boxes or little, objects behind a card, and you have to guess what it is before it's shown. And I saw a lot of people be like, I didn't get any of them, or, I didn't get, I only got one, or whatever else it was. And again, there's totally nothing wrong with those videos at all. They're great. They're a really helpful tool. But it got me thinking about the fact that, there's so many ways to be psychically in tune. There's so many ways to be spiritually gifted. Like hell, even, for clairvoyance, who that's supposed to be their jam, right? Like what can you see in the box? There's so many ways to be clairvoyant that it doesn't like fit into a mold. I was going to be like fit into a box. I'm like, no, wait, I'm already in trouble with that sentence because it's confusing. But, there's just like so many ways to express your spiritual and your psychic gifts. And I kind of didn't want to gloss over that, pass over that, right? So, quite simply, like we've said, recapping, your intuition is the language that the universe uses to speak to you directly. And that's why it can be similar to other people's, and it can be helpful to, identify with certain patterns. Like, I identify with these markers for clairaudience. I identify with these markers for clairalience, which is psychic smelling, by the way. It's a trip. But I also want people to be able to leave a lot of room for and celebrate and understand why their gifts are going to manifest specifically for them. And the way that they're going to, like I said, that it's no two people experience it the same way, right? And it's just, like I said, ultimately because this is how Spirit's trying to communicate with you. And this kind of also leads me to another thing. I'm going to do a whole separate video on this because it's a gigantic topic. But it's important when you're utilizing, when you're interpreting the information you're getting through your psychic senses or your other spiritual gifts, it's important to weigh out in appropriate measure, commonly held associations and symbolism versus personal meaning. And this is a topic I talk about a lot in tarot. But this is kind of saying, there are symbols, there are signs, there are things that we all have common associations with, and ones that have personal meaning. So like a really good modern example of this would be emojis, right? There are commonly held meanings for a bunch of different emojis, and this is kind of a cool thing that we can sort of look at that, and it bridges the gap of language or understanding, because we all have this basic understanding of what this small picture means. But then you also have your own personal associations with each emoji. This is just kind of what I wanted to sort of touch on, is that your intuition is going to work so beautifully uniquely for you. And so if you're kind of just starting out your journey, excuse me, with your spiritual path, or maybe you're opening up a new spiritual gift and you're kind of starting to work with it and get used to it, I just don't want anybody to be beating themselves up or frustrated or think that they're not advancing quickly enough because their gifts look different from other people's. In terms of why this is important is, like I said, as we're going through this collective shift toward having a more more spiritually based communities, you're going to kind of come in contact with more people who are a lot more open about their gifts, who are a lot, you're going to come in contact with a lot more opportunities to develop your own and to be a part of these spiritual communities. This is going to become common or more common vernacular, more common lingo. And I think it's really, really important to go into that with a healthy sense of self. Because it's natural, I think, with anything spiritual, that it runs the risk of being eclipsed by, the ego, the human in us, and that's totally fine. So I think that was just about everything I wanted to cover. This is just going to be like a short video today. I am going to do more of a series, like I said, talking about a number of spiritual topics, particularly related to, your spiritual gifts, to divination. So if that's something that interests you, hit that notification bell. I'm going to be posting more. If you have questions, you have comments, if you agree, disagree, please feel free to leave them in the comments, because again, this is our community. I'd love to share it with you guys. And any input you have is always valued, always appreciated, and always taken to heart. So with that, I'm going to go get a snack, I think. But I will leave y'all here for right now, and we'll come back and we'll chat again more later. Sound good? Okay. Thanks for being here, love bugs. Have a good day.